Hello, today we are joined by Thomas Andrews, who is a qualified colour consultant and also a men's personal stylist and a fellow Catholic. So, we wanted to really dig deeper into the best ways that we can present ourselves in what we wear in the dating scene, because we do know that we live in a world where the visuals do matter and aesthetics do count, and we want to get some tricks and tips from Thomas on how we can best show off our optimal selves, really. So, Thomas, thank you so much for being here. And I'd love to just start by, why does how we present ourselves and dress matter?
Oh, it's a big question to start. Thank you for having me, Delphine. I'm excited to discuss the science behind the art of looking good today. And in essence, people don't really understand it. If you look at a tradesman and you saw a well presented van, great uniform, you think, oh, trustworthy tradesman. And then regular world, you don't really look at somebody in their clothing and go, oh, they look good, I'm going to trust them. Or confident, creative, attractive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've heard that the reason why, I guess it's more for women, like we like a man in uniform, we like a fireman or a policeman, is because of that psychology of the uniform makes them feel like they have authority, like they have expertise, and like they are trustworthy. And I think as women, obviously, we are always looking for a man who can lead. So I think in that
Yes.
way, that's probably why like uniforms work quite well. So I like that analogy that you brought in. So, Thomas, how quickly do you think we make a judgment on someone, like by seeing them, by how they look?
Several like psychological studies have shown it's point 0.1 of a second. That's hardly anything. And then it's up to 30 seconds once you start talking. 93% of how we communicate is nonverbal. 55% of that is your appearance and your body language. And then you have 38%, which is your tone, pitch, and pace of voice, and only 7% of the words that come out of your mouth.
Do you believe in love at first sight then?
Yes, but something I listened to recently on a Lila Rose podcast was that our sexual sin has taken away that ability, which is an interesting way to look at it. I do believe it exists. Yes.
Do you think it's more of a men's experience than a woman's? Because apparently, men, you guys are very visual. You make up your mind pretty quickly if you find a woman attractive or not. And I believe, please correct me if that's wrong, that you don't tend to change your mind on this. While women, often it can take a woman up to 3 dates to really discern if she feels attracted to a man, because it's a little bit more emotionally led. So we need to exactly, hear the pace of voice, see the humor, see the way they communicate. And that's what we really fall for. While I feel like with men, you're so visual, you can, I've heard there's Arthur Brooks, I think he's a psychologist at Harvard, and he talks about the psychology of being happy. And I love when he talks about his wife, because he saw her and just knew she was going to be his wife. And they couldn't even speak the same language for the first like few years of their relationship. And they're happily married now. So what would you say to that? Do you think there really is a difference between men and women and attraction?
Yes, men are more physical. Can they change their initial impression? I would say yes, if that initial impression or first meeting is not like level 10 of the woman looking her best, right? And by that I mean if a woman's dressing up to go to a ball or a dance, they're going to look very elegant, hair's going to be done, makeup's going to be done. And if the first meeting is in a more casual setting, certainly I've seen women where I've gone, whoa, like I didn't know you could dress up incredibly well.
Obviously, we've seen that in so many of these rom-coms, like the glow up, like suddenly the guy sees the girl without glasses and he's like, oh my gosh. But my question to you on that would be, So you've seen the woman at a 10, you know, she's going to the ball, her hair's
Yeah.
done, her makeup's, everything like that. But then what happens when you see her in everyday clothes again? Because you've seen that potential level, are you just attracted to her anyway? Because obviously that's not real life. That's not always going to be. She's not going to be in a ball gown every day. So how does that work?
I think it's a valid point. I don't know that we as men are the, the same. Are we level 10 if we're in a suit and well dressed, or, if we've quite casual, if we're in tracky bottoms and a tracksuit, are we quite unattractive? I don't know. But if we've been to the gym and worked out, maybe we do look attractive.
That's really interesting. I always think it's funny what women find attractive. I think suits women find universally attractive. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can talk us through. It's the cut or whatever. It's very flattering. I think it also gives an air of authority and like maturity, which is obviously very hot. But then I also have this idea because sometimes some girls really like the kind of tracksuit bottom look because or the bad boy look, kind of like the bad boy.
Yeah.
My sister and I were talking about this. We were like, why do girls like bad boys? Like, especially women, okay, grown women. And the reason we have come up with is because, in a way, that bad boy represents that he can protect you, he will fight for you, like, he's not afraid to go for what he wants. Like, there are actual masculine traits in that bad boy that we find attractive, that, of course, we could find attractive and we would much prefer in a good guy. But that might explain why sometimes, because I saw this hilarious video of a hen party and all the women had to dress up. I mean, they all dressed up like what they find most attractive in men. So some of them looked like proper gangsters, others were like in a suit. It was quite amusing just to see the different tastes of women when
Yeah.
it comes to what they find attractive. And I love what you said about, the fact that sportswear might look slobby in one context, and in another context, if the man's just, woken up at 4 a.m. and gone to the gym, that's a symbol of discipline, and that's also very attractive. So it's like situationally dependent.
Yeah. I don't think beyond the gangster, let's say, vibe, I think that's down to the emotional maturity of the woman generally. I think more emotional and virtuous women tend to look for the gentleman and virtuous man, and they often dress well. And by that, I mean more towards the smarter end of the scale. And that's generally women like men when they dress smartly. That's the suit, it's the wool overcoat. It might be a shirt and a quarter zip jumper or a v-neck jumper, something like that.
Yeah, a bit preppy, but like smart, like they are working a good job and things like that.
Yeah.
So we've obviously talked about how so much of how we present ourselves and how we're perceived is, nonverbal. So I wanted to ask, like, how much is in our control? Obviously, we all look how we look. There are some things that are in control. There's some things that aren't. And how can color also affect our physical appearance, how people see us?
I think there's two ways you can elevate your attractiveness. The first one is your physical body you're given. It can be improved through exercise and diet and living a healthy and active lifestyle. The second point is the colors and the shape of clothes you wear. Color can make you look younger, healthier, and more attractive. And a simple example I'll give you now is if I pull some black up to my face, what difference do you see?
I feel like your skin tone's gone a bit grayer, you look a bit more tired. Like I just feel like it's almost like I can see bags under your eyes that I didn't see before. Like
Yeah,
it just feels a bit grayer. Less
which
vitality,
is,
I'd say.
I look older effectively.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
happy with that. And now as I lower,
Yeah, it's almost like you've put a filter on.
Yeah, which is crazy, and I haven't.
That's
With clear
insane.
as day. Yeah, and I'm not the most obvious
Contrast.
contrast for this. We have 6 color categories and a light category, which is very blonde hair, light eyes. Think Reese Witherspoon, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Mm.
If I put black on them, they would look potentially 10 years older or something like that. Yeah.
Mm. What are the 6 different styles or different color
Color
combinations?
types, yes. So we have light, which we've just discussed. Deep is dark hair, dark eyes. Look best in strong, vibrant colors. The lights look best in light colors. Then we have warm, and warm people tend to have a redness to their hair and a golden look to their skin, potentially freckles, and they look best in colors with a red or yellow undertone. Then we have cool, which is for our people with ash or grey undertone in their hair, and then to a full grey head, and they look best in blue cool colors or colors with a cool undertone. And then coming on to the final 2, we have clear, where people have a very strong contrast between the iris color and the whites of their eyes. And then with the hair color as well, it's likely in contrast to their eye color. They look best in bright colors, but that are chopped together. So if I put navy over this, for example, you would have a contrast between my shirt color and my main jumper, if that makes sense. And then our final category is soft, and those are individuals with blonde to medium brown hair. Often as a child, they had, bleached blonde hair, and then as they grow older and mature through their teens, it starts to fade and they go to medium brown. They look best in what we call blended tones, so lighter colors of similar shades worn together. And for women in this category, if they wear a colored lipstick, that often elevates their look dramatically.
We doing ourselves an injustice, A, by wearing a lot of black. I feel like black is just part of the daily wardrobe of a lot of us. And then B, how can we figure out what we are? Like, can we just experiment with trialing different colors and seeing how we look, how other people compliment us if they do or don't, and also how we
Yeah.
feel? Because I think there's also that link of how confident do you feel.
I'll address the first point of wearing black. Most people wear black because it's an easy decision, i.e., it takes the decision out of what they have to wear. Black also is worn by a number of people because it has a slimming effect and they're not happy with the current state of their physical body. Although the effect of slimming is true for all darker shades of colours. So it's not specific to black. If you wore maroon, for example, it would have the same effect. To determine your colour type, it's difficult to self do it. I can walk down the street and do anyone, but to do it yourself is quite hard. I would always recommend going to a qualified colour consultant. I am part of the Colour Me Beautiful range of consultants, and you can go on their website and find a consultant nearer you. In regarding to the third point around feeling colour, women tend to feel their clothes far more than men. They will often, spend a lot of time thinking about what they're going to wear today. That's not, a similar experience for most men. Most men will just throw on whatever. There are the occasional type of men who are very specific and detail orientated, and they will take the time to choose what they wish to wear. I think you can get to a point where if something you've worn looks great on you, people will often compliment you. Although for women, I would say you naturally compliment each other a lot. So you would need to know that the compliments are coming from a genuine friend rather than is it somebody who just always compliments your appearance regardless of what you're wearing. And I think that's a good test. And also, what do they compliment? Women are often more specific with their compliments, whether it's shoes or a bag or an accessory rather than the entire outfit. So that's something to consider. Finally, for women on the compliment side of things, don't be afraid to wear something more than once. Because if you look great in something, you can wear it multiple times. And a great statistic on this is that for women, they tend to wear 20% of their clothes 80% of the time, which is pretty mind blowing on that side of thing.
Why is that? Because 80% they don't feel good in, or?
Generally, I mean, how many times have women bought something and never worn it? It's quite high from the women I know in my life. So that's an element. I think having the discipline of buying.
Yeah.
Don't just buy for the sake of buying. Be very specific with what you buy. And once you've been to a color consultant and a style consultant, you've also shown how to effectively have a capsule wardrobe. So you have items in your entire wardrobe that you can combine, which is unusual, and then reduces the items you have so that you can wear anything. Yeah, so all the t-shirts I have, I know I can wear with all my different color trousers, for example. So
It's about access, especially for men, I suppose. But I just want to touch on your discernment of compliments because I think that's really interesting. And I actually read a theory that sometimes when someone says like, "Oh, I really love that dress," or "I really love that, outfit," it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best outfit on you. It can actually be an isolated comment that they just like the item. While sometimes you'll get the compliment like, "Wow, you look so good today," or "You look really, you're glowing," or something like that. And that's more of a reflection that what you're wearing well, it's not wearing you. So I think that's really interesting about discerning the compliment. And then, because obviously I think men are going to be really interested in this. So you were talking that, men don't really necessarily plan or think about outfits, but what you've done is you've curated a wardrobe that is in your color type. And also your color type changes in the season. So I suppose you have an autumn winter wardrobe and a spring summer wardrobe. And how would you advise about going about that just so that they can throw anything on and still know that they're going to look good and look attractive?
the first thing is not to throw everything out because that can be an expensive process to build an entire wardrobe from scratch in terms of the clothes in it. It's often a case of getting your colors assessed, knowing what your palette is, what looks good on you, what combinations look best on you. And then over time, as pieces in your wardrobe wear out, you can replace them with better pieces and be disciplined on what you buy and actually wait. Maybe you have to spend a bit more money, but if it's a higher quality product and you can have it for longer, there's a benefit to that. And also, men's fashion or fashion retailers don't offer as much color as women's fashion retailers. So you have to kind of watch the new lines in, March time for spring, summer, and then September time for autumn, winter. And often, there were some colors from some retailers last year that worked really well for me. And then this year, I haven't really been able to buy anything. So it goes in cycles. and you just have to be aware of that. Whereas for women, they have loads of access to lots of color.
Interesting, because yeah, my some of my understanding was, looking at nature, so looking at springtime when all the flowers are blooming and they're absolutely beautiful and they are colourful. And that's what attracts the bees and everything like that. And I did think that I feel like colour has just been given a bit of a bad rep. Like, in order to look chic, to look French, it's all about the camels and the navies and the black.
Hmm.
And I do think sometimes that can look amazing. But for me, I found that I flourish the most when I'm in color. So do you
Hmm.
think that everyone should try and be a little bit more experimental with color? A guy I work with, actually, he's ginger, and I overheard him saying that he can only wear blue. He can only wear dark blue because he doesn't feel he can wear other colors. Is that true? Like, how much universally should we be experimenting with color?
I think we should experiment and be courageous. We should wear color. When we wear color, it does energize us, but it also energizes the people around us. If you compare how you feel on a grey, overcast, or rainy day, and how you appear if first thing you wake up it's bright blue sky, sun shining, it's a big difference. Color has the same effect, and people can get in a rut of wearing one color that they're comfortable in, or they might have found one color of their palette, but their palette is 30 to 40 colors. So they need to you know try other things, and often we go to the more, let's say, bland colors that you described, with the cheek style, with the chick style of your beige, your stone, your taupe. Most people will be able to wear them, but they're not going to be their best color, or they're unlikely to be their best color. And if you wear that near the face, and you wear, let's say, red maroon trousers on the bottom, your people will see your trousers before they see your face. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
like bright pink trousers, which I used to wear with a black polo neck, and I guess, yeah, it was
yeah,
more. Mm,
yeah. So your pink trousers would be noticed before your upper body,
interesting.
and we always want to draw attention to your face because that's who you are. And wearing the brightest color you're wearing that day near your face is the best thing you can do to increase your attractiveness. For example, I saw somebody with a similar complexion and colouring to yourself, Delphine, at a conference earlier in the year, and she wore, was it like I think it was a cream turtleneck with a beige overcoat, but she had a hot pink scarf when she arrived for the day. But as soon as she took the scarf off, like nothing, in terms of like
Yeah,
could just
yeah.
blend into the rest of the crowd. Whereas when you first met her with the pink scarf, you immediately noticed her face. Yeah.
Wow. So, what would you advise a woman and a man to wear for like a first date? Like, how should we be memorable? How can we be putting our best foot forward on a date?
I think everyone has their own style, personality, and they should embrace that. Some people are more creative, some people are more formal and classic. They're not going to be that experimental. The important consideration with any style is shape, scale, and proportions. I'll cover shape first, and that's relative to your body type. Clothing should fit your physique well, but not be skin tight. We don't want to see the lines of your underwear through your clothing. Secondly, for scale, we need to match the size of patterns and accessories we wear to our physique. For example, you can see if I do that, the gingham pattern on my shirt is very small, which matches my fine bone structure. which suits me. Whereas if I wore a large like check, you know, like old maths paper from school, right? You would suddenly I would appear wider and heavier, which is not in line with my physique. In essence, for petite people wear small patterns, average size people wear average patterns, and for grand scale wear larger patterns. And then the final piece is proportions, and that's related to your height and where your waistline sits in your body. Our eyes are always looking for balance, and that's what we've already discussed with the color and your facial features. The balance is dependent on where your waistline sits. Are you long or short body, i.e., vice versa, short, long legs? You're trying to create balance, and you can do that with clothing. If you're short in the body, you can wear a longer top to balance you out. And the opposite, if you're long in the body, you wear a shorter top. The final thing on height, if you're petite, you can wear a single block color to make you look taller. And if you're very tall, you can chop your physique with two colors to make you look smaller. And then if we want to get onto items of clothing that men like on women and women like on men, I mean, the women that like on men, or what women like men in, we've already discussed with the often the smarter the man is dressed,
The more
the more
tailored
attractive
as
to you.
well. I think there's
Hmm.
something about a man in good tailoring because it shows a self-knowledge, which I think is quite rare in today's world. And also I think it just, yeah, shows like a sign of maturity and intentionality with what they're wearing. So I think that's why that's really attractive. Because you would trust a man to lead who can lead himself, right? Who can dress
Agreed.
well, knows what suits him.
Hmm. Definitely. So then, if we come on to what men find attractive in women,
Yeah.
first thing is high heels, incredibly irresistibly attractive, and that's because I'm going to use an anthropologist named Helen Fisher's explanation. She says that when women wear high heels, it simulates the courting posture called lordosis of most mammals. High heels arch the back and thrust out the buttocks, while in the animal kingdom, this is the universal symbol of sexual readiness. Now, I would say the sweet spot is a 3-inch heel, 7 to 8 centimeters. It's anything less than that isn't really doing anything for you, and anything more than that is probably too much, certainly in a Catholic sense, a virtuous man looking for a wife. And also it's lightly uncomfortable and difficult to walk in for the women. And then we have the second point I would make is to dress with class and elegance. Dresses are an easy way to do this because they show that there is a deeper discovery to you beyond the beautiful body that you're blessed with. And a virtuous man wants to get to know the whole you, not just your body. That's unfortunately, let's say, our peers in the secular world. And then thirdly, for a virtuous man, I would always say natural makeup for women is more attractive because we feel that God designs you naturally beautiful. From a professional standpoint, we always say makeup should enhance your appearance and not change it. And if you'd like to take inspiration, I would advise taking inspiration from from French women.
I was trying to figure out what 3 inches is because I feel like that's quite a high heel. Like I'd be super uncomfortable in that. But I do like. I think it's interesting when you see the biological ancestral kind of connections there. And I think you said earlier about not necessarily wearing neutral tones against your face. And is
Hmm.
that because universally will it just be a little bit more draining than a color? Obviously, depending on your color shade and
Yeah.
styles.
Color's always gonna accentuate and draw people to your face if it's worn around the neck. Some people wish to fly under the radar on some days, and it's perfectly fine to wear, you know, blander colors if you like, just to fly under the radar, get your tasks done. But when you're attending an event where there's potential spouses, dress your best, put your best foot forward, and that will likely be rewarded with, you know, a date, and then dress at the same level for the date, right? Like don't go, oh, I've got the date, I'm set. Like the date is just the beginning, you know. Maybe once you're married, they get to see the full you and, you know, the person that's going to run the errands and stuff like that. But until that point, most people will put their best foot forward, certainly for the first few dates.
Amazing. And Thomas, what would you advise men who feel they have no clue, they don't really care? Maybe they don't really care and they just think clothes are very functional. What would you encourage them, and how do you think it could actually make such a difference in their lives, you know, professionally, their date life, family life?
I think first thing is if you get it right, you'll be more confident in yourself, and that will likely give you the courage to go and approach women. If you feel great within you, you know, you'll have the courage to go across. And also because you look good from a, let's say, color point of view and dress point of view, the women or the woman, as we discussed earlier, you know, that 0.1 of a second to make a decision about whether she likes you or not, or finds you attractive, she's probably going to be, you know, on the side towards saying yes before you even speak. That's gonna elevate you. In terms of the best thing is always, you know, to get your color category assessed and get your color palette. But a free start is if you're buying clothes online and you looking through and the models are wearing something that you think looks great. If they have similar coloring to you, then it's likely to look good on you. That applies, of course, for women as well. If you look at something on a model in a photo and you go, that looks great, but, you know, for me, if they had blonde hair and, you know, light eyes, it's likely not going to suit me, right? So it's having that distinction to be able to facilitate better purchases when you're out clothes shopping.
And what encouragement would you say to women who are maybe feeling a bit insecure? They don't really feel that beautiful. They don't feel motivated to wear dresses, for example. How can they get out of that funk of just feeling not their best?
I think remember that you are beautiful. Every woman is beautiful. Everyone is made in God's image, and you deserve to be told that. You deserve a man who looks like that. If you find the information to help you dress in a better way, that's always going to help you feel more confident. And, you know, I'm going to use the example of men here, but, you know, first thing that most men get told is get down the gym and get in shape. You know, makes you feel much better. I think even just getting outside for a 30-minute walk a day is going to improve your mental health and well-being. Socializing, speaking to people, you know, have friends that lift you up and you have energy from, not, you know, energy sapping friends, because they're going to bring you down even more. And then, you know, start once you've got those things in place, you'll start to feel better anyway. And then maybe you take the courage to go, okay, the next thing I'm going to address is how I dress, my colors that I wear, and go from there.
I love that you've really brought in like the holistic person, because I think sometimes people might think that fashion or color analysis, that it's actually quite gratuitous or superficial, but it really isn't. There's a reason why beauty is one of the transcendentals that lead us to God. And I think for me, realizing that helped me to accept that it's not something superficial. It is worth investing in, and it does bring so much joy. I know once I wore, this, it was a really lovely dress with like puffy sleeves, and this little like 6-year-old boy just ran up to me and said, "You look like a princess," and he looked so happy, like he looked so blessed to have seen that, and I do think that us looking our best and really enhancing what God's given us is a gift to the world. And I love that you addressed all women by saying, you are beautiful. And it's the same with men. Like, you are handsome. God has created you in his image and likeness. And look at Jesus Christ, like such a handsome man. And to be able to enhance that is almost like saying thank you to God. Like, thank you, God, for what you've given me. And I know that, of course, some things are not in our control, like our height, for example. But again, even if you are crazy tall or you're on the shorter side, you're able to, as you mentioned, do the color blocking or to split it up. And I think it's so empowering to hear that so much of this is in our control. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us. And I hope that some of us will take this into our daily life and maybe into our dating life, and hopefully that will be helpful. So thank you again, Thomas, and to everyone who's watching, God bless.
Thank you very much for having me.